Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Green, and I'm here with the rest of the committee to talk about our mentoring program. And in particular, just talking about mentoring in general so that you walk away with a sense of what this program might be able to offer you in case you're interested, and to also see what kind of experiences we've had through it. To start off, we're going to have a couple of different questions that should be popping up. The first one that we'd like you to answer is about in your professional life, have you ever had a formal mentor or an informal mentor? And so it looks like we have quite a bit. We can see quite a few have had a formal mentor as well as an informal mentor. And then even close to 20% of us have had both, and a few haven't had either. So with the second one, we'd like you to now think about in your professional life, have you ever been a formal or informal mentor? And so please go ahead and respond to that second one. Okay. And this time, quite a few of us have also been a mentor, as well as had one. Several more of us haven't been a mentor yet, either informally or formally. So overall, though, we can say that a majority of us have had some sort of experience with mentoring, whether that's being mentored or maybe even being a mentor. And the goal today is to talk about the mentoring program for the section on statistics and data science education, and just mentoring in general and how these relationships can play an important role in our professional lives. And just to talk a little bit about the program, this is a formal mentoring program, and it's really created to foster those kind of formal mentor-mentee relationships between statistics and data science educators. And this program was formed in 2016. We can see by a variety of different committee members here who had the vision of and saw the need for a program like this. 4 years later, the committee has changed a little bit, but as you can see, we come from all kinds of different institutions across the nation and really have experienced and seen the value in this program and how it's grown over the past few years. In fact, we're in our 5th year of the program, and if you're interested, we'll talk about later how you can enroll because that's still open and there's still the opportunity to participate. To give an overview of the nuts and bolts and kind of just the timeline of how the program operates over the academic calendar year, at the end of that academic calendar year, April to May, is when we seek or solicit people who want to apply to participate in the program, either as a mentor or a mentee, possibly both. At the end of July, we then announce each of the mentors and mentees who have been paired together to work throughout the academic year. And they get a chance to meet one another remotely. And sometimes, if they live close together, they might get a chance to meet in person or perhaps at a JSM when we're not going online and doing everything virtually. But the idea is that throughout this year, from August to May, you get to shape the relationship that suits both of you and your needs. In addition, there's a committee member who is assigned to be a liaison so that they can check in quarterly just to see how your relationship is progressing and answer any questions that you might have along the way or address any concerns that may have arisen. By the end of the academic year in May, we send out an email so that you can talk about your plans for moving forward. Even though the formal mentoring relationship for that academic year could end, you might want to continue on talking about that. And Nicole will give an example of how her relationship has continued even beyond that of the program. We also ask you to go ahead and complete an end of the year survey so that we can get feedback about the program and how to continue making it better for future iterations. So in this talk, a variety of different committee members are going to help answer different questions that you might have about the program or just mentoring in general. And one of those questions might be, for example, should I be a mentor or a mentee? Another one you can think about, well, once you decide to enter into a mentoring relationship, how can you establish an effective one? what might be some benefits from participating in a program such as this, or just in general, being a part of a mentoring relationship. And then if you're interested in participating in this particular mentoring program, we'll talk about the application process and how you can go through to state that interest. And so Jennifer Ward is going to start us off and talk about her experiences as a mentee in this program. And she's going to begin with a question.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Jenny. For our first activity, I'd like you to respond in the chat window. What do you look for in a mentor? I'll give you some time to respond, and then we'll discuss the responses. So I see some responses coming in, thinking outside the box and supportive, open to sharing ideas without judging, commitment to the mentee, kindness and professionalism, someone who would help me grow in learning, mastering best practices, as well as statistics knowledge. Easy to talk to, discuss, and meet. That's one thing we think about in our pairings. Someone experienced in the area where I might be lacking. Ooh, all these responses are so great. Guidance, support, innovative ideas, professional knowledge, listen and reflect, bounce ideas off of. I see a lot of themes coming up from the responses. Jenny, could I have the next slide? So like I was saying, reading off some of your chat responses, what you look for in a mentor probably depends on your current life circumstances. So if you are looking for a new job, you might want someone who can help you manage those new stages of your career. Maybe you want to look for a new role in your current job. You're moving up in the world. Are you teaching a new course? Maybe you need some help with new technology that you may not be familiar with, or you want to try new techniques. If you're looking for advice on that work-life balance that we're all trying to figure out, especially with online learning, having an end of the day is not so clear-cut anymore. Maybe you want to work towards a promotion, and a mentor can help you get there because they've been there and they can lead you through those steps. Or if you want to change careers, and if you're midway through your career, you may need someone to help you in that next step. Personally, I applied to the call for mentees last spring, and I was thrilled to be matched with a mentor. I'm an experienced adjunct two-year college teacher, but I felt someone from outside my local circles could probably help me grow professionally. I was matched with Beth Chance, who was a founding member of this committee and whose name I'd actually been familiar with since grad school. Beth has given me support to step outside my comfort zone as a teacher. She has directed me towards resources that can turn my class activities into bigger projects that I wasn't sure how to manage. And most of all, just been a source of moral support, much like many of you had answered of what you look for in a mentor. So right now I feel reinvigorated about my career path because I feel encouraged to have big goals and create pathways to reach those goals. So like I said, I'm mid-career teaching at a community college, but that doesn't mean I can't apply to be a mentee. So I wasn't sure if I would actually be paired with anyone because I was mid-career, but we welcome anyone who wants to have a mentor to apply to our program. So if you are a current educator, you want to learn new teaching techniques, build a new class, maybe you're switching to online teaching and you'd like someone to bounce off ideas, because working in the classroom is a little different than teaching online, as we've all figured out. Maybe you need to step into a new role. If you're a new or prospective educator searching for career advice, we can find a mentor for you. Or maybe you're a PhD student looking for your first academic job, and we can find the right person for you. So next, the other Jennifer, Jen Broatch, is going to share with us some answers to questions she had about mentors and mentees.
Hi, thank you, Jen. The big thing, thank you for describing what a mentee should be. And when I first heard about the program, I went and asked the question, but I wasn't sure whether or not I would be a mentor or a mentee. And I was really confused and conflicted about which one would actually suit me best but the main thing you need to realize is that a mentor doesn't need to know it all. You don't need to have all of the answers. Your role as a mentor is simply to teach, to guide, to problem solve, to motivate, to coach, all of those things that you guys had listed, which were all listed, that you guys listed in the mentor. You can't actually be a good mentor. And I was just so conflicted between how I would define myself as a mentor or a mentee. So, what makes a really great mentor is that you're just simply willing to share your experiences and be ready to and open to share, versus a mentee who is actually looking for that guidance. So whether or not you're being willing to share that guidance or look for that guidance, either one, I see, and I can see myself fitting into both. So I get where you might be conflicted in your own mind. So one thing like a mentor could be, you don't have to be like Jennifer Ward had alluded to, that she's mid-career. You can be mid-career and to be a mentor or a mentee. You just have to decide whether you're seeking advice or willing to share that advice. So you could be a second year just giving a first year advice. You could be someone that's able to integrate some of those interactive things into their classroom, or more data science into their classroom, and you could help. As long as you're willing to give advice about that, that's what we're looking for that's what anybody would be looking for in a mentor. Just someone who's a good listener and willing to guide. You don't have to know all of the answers. So anybody that's just feels experienced and is willing to share that information, that would be amazing. So now Nicole is the next person up, and she's going to actually dive deeper into her relationship as a mentor and a mentee and describe some of those relationships that she's had.
Hello. So before we get into that, we are going to talk a little bit about another chat prompt. So I have been I've been on both sides of this. I started off as a mentee and now I'm a mentor. I want you to put in the chat box, what are some benefits you can think of being a mentor, whether that's for your own professional development or just in general. I'll give everyone a minute to respond to that. We all like talking about our achievements. I like that one. And that is one cool thing about being a mentor, is you do get to take the things that you've learned and experienced and pass them forward to somebody else. And a lot of times when I'm mentoring, I realize that I know more than I thought I did. And that's kind of a nice realization as you go through this process. I see lots of reflections. So talking about and thinking about how you've done things and reflecting back and really getting that opportunity to think about how you've done things and the path that you've gone through is also really helpful as you go through. I'm also seeing that you can learn new things from your mentees, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Jenny, could you go to the next slide for me? So I'm talking a little bit about how you build relationships as part of a mentee-mentor relationship. So I started this program when it started. So I was one of the first class of mentees. I was a PhD student trying to figure out the crazy job market and get into my first academic job. And so I was looking for advice on how to navigate that process, how to choose a school, how to decide what was really going to be a good fit. And I was extremely blessed to be matched with Matt Hyatt for a mentee. And Matt ended up being incredibly useful through this process. He provided a sounding board just to bounce ideas off of. He was willing to talk to me before and after the interview process and really break down what I had experienced and how I felt in different schools. And it was wonderful to have someone outside of the school that you could discuss all of these things with as you went through the process. And as I actually got my academic position, Matt celebrated along with me that I had gotten through that step. But then the relationship didn't stop. So technically, our relationships run from August through May, at least formally. But for Matt and I, our relationship continued over the summer, and we ended up meeting up at JSM the next year. Last year, we met up at USCOTS. So this has gone on now multiple years. And at this point, we get to share ideas back and forth and talk about how our careers are going, and really have gotten to this excellent point where we're a resource for each other. I have now transitioned from that role from a mentee. I've now been a mentor 3 times. twice to brand new PhD students like myself. And the first time I was a mentor, I was a little bit terrified. I was a fresh faculty member. I had just started in a new school. I had only been there a couple of weeks, and here I am mentoring a PhD student through the process. But what I found out is I knew a lot about what that process was like because I had just gone through it. And I was actually able to be a good resource to that individual, just like Matt had been to me. I did that again the next year. And this year, I'm partnered with a faculty member who was really interested in talking about data science education, which is something I'm very passionate about. And that mentoring relationship has developed to now she and I trade ideas back and forth. And oh, I'm trying this cool thing in my classroom and you're trying this cool thing. Let's talk about it. And we're already putting into place how that relationship is going to continue, even though our formal relationship will end in May. So this program is really, really flexible, and you have a lot of room to make it the relationship that's going to work best for you. For some, this partnership is going to be one that can go on throughout a lot of your academic life. And it really helps build your connections all across the country and all over the world to other individuals who are interested in the same things that you are. Jenny, would you go to the next slide for me? And so this one I touched on. It's important to think about the fact that this relationship is not something that's confined to 1 year. This is something that we are hoping will help build your network and continue to grow. And next slide, please. So I'm going to pass it over to Dave, who's going to talk to us about how our program has been growing each year and what we've been learning about how the program works and who's been involved.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. As Jenny Green mentioned back near the beginning of this session, in addition to checking in with each pair a few times during the course of the academic year, each spring we send out a survey to the mentees and a survey to the mentors, just to get an idea of how they're utilizing the pairing and what's working well, what's not working so well, suggestions for mentoring program. Overall, the results have been very positive and enthusiastic. The mentees benefit in many ways, some of which have been mentioned at the chat prompts by participants here. In addition to some specific advice or ideas about teaching and also the fact that mentors help the mentees navigate professional decisions. Some general themes are that mentees value the support and encouragement they get from mentors, and they really appreciate just having that connection, including having someone to bounce ideas off of, especially someone from outside their institution. Just really gives them a good sounding board. The mentors really also enjoy the connection with their mentees, and they really tend to enjoy seeing the mentee develop over the year or multiple years. And I think that it seems like they just get an intrinsic enjoyment out of mentoring that I think is similar to the enjoyment that we get from teaching. And we also solicit suggestions for the program. And one common one that has popped up last year and this year that we hope to implement in the upcoming year is a mentoring resource and support page. So this will consist of a repository of helpful references related to mentoring and ideas of good questions and topics that the pairs can discuss when they meet. And if we go on to the next slide, here are a couple of representative quotes from this year's survey that was sent out a couple of weeks ago. So some advice for would-be mentors: do it. You'll be surprised at how many things you forgot that you didn't once know the answers to. From a mentee: my mentor was amazing. She checked in on me very regularly, which I so appreciate. It's great to have an outside person as a sounding board, and just very representative of a lot of the open-ended responses we get. I think a large factor in the participants' enjoyment of the program is the care that goes into the matching process. And with that, just in case you're considering being a mentor or a mentee, April Kerby will talk about the application and how we match the mentor and mentee pairs.
Thanks, Dave. So as Jenny mentioned, this time of year, we have our application process that we recruit mentors and mentees using. And so our application itself is a Google form. And so the link is in this presentation a couple times. And you may have gotten an email if you're on the ISOSTAT listserv or part of the section in the ASA. And you'll know you're in the right place because this is what the top of the application form looks like. So we have an array of questions that we ask you. Some of the main themes of those are geographic location and preferred meeting times, which we use to match mentors and mentees, just so that it's easier for them to find times to meet. Again, if you live close enough, you can even meet up in person. And then we also ask things about preferred discussion topics. So you a fresh PhD student that's mostly looking for job process and searching information? Are you sort of more mid-career and you're interested in learning about the tenure process? And then we also ask things about career interests and research or teaching interests, just so that we can use that information to try to find the best matches that we can between mentors and mentees. And then in July, those new pairings are announced. You'll receive emails and then most often the opportunity to meet at JSM. Go to the next slide, please. And so I mentioned we ask all these questions, and it's really important that you think about your responses to what you're really looking for in the mentoring relationship. If you don't know for sure, that's okay, but you probably have some direction that you could utilize. And so we really try hard to put people together who are able to talk about similar interests, and then the geographic location and meeting times are also pretty important. And then again, the teaching, career, research interests, we look at all of that and try to do the best job that we can to match individuals together in the hopes of having a fruitful relationship throughout the academic year and beyond. So I believe Jenny's going to sort of close us out here.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. And so just to remind you, if you are interested in applying, the link right here is in the chat window that Jennifer Broatch posted for you to link on. The link to Nicole's AMSAT News article is also posted. You should feel free to read about her relationship with Matt Hyatt, her mentoring relationship with Matt Hyatt that was written about in there, and just get more information about the program. And if you have any other questions at all, please feel free to email me at jgreen@montana.edu. And so now we'll open it up to questions.
Well, first, let's thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting. And as a past mentor, it brought back a lot of memories for me, very heartfelt memories. So please, if you have more questions, type them into the Q&A. We do have some questions coming in. One of them is, as a mentor, how do you handle questions about tenure and promotion and valuing various types of scholarship and service?
Mm-hmm. I have not had that experience. Would someone who has been, let's see, I don't know if any of us have had that, where we've mentored someone through the tenure process. Have you, April?
I've had discussions. It was someone who was thinking about changing universities and how that would impact or the route that they should take. And so we've had fruitful conversations. We sort of look at their options, and I've discussed with other colleagues at my institution, what are your thoughts on if someone's trying to do this? So a lot of the time we might, as mentors, also seek feedback from our mentors or other colleagues in trying to figure out how to help our mentees out. And also if, individuals at other institutions, because it's very different, sometimes we get a little bit of feedback, say, hey, at my colleagues' institution, this is what they do, and this is what we do here. And so it's sort of a compilation of information that we can gather as
well. Another question was, how does a mentee indicate sort of how they would like to continue the relationship? Is there a formal way they do that, or is it just sort of in the discussions?
Yeah, there's a couple of different options. So if you want to continue your mentoring relationship formally through the program, there's a question that allows you and also your mentor to select that you'd like to continue in the same mentoring pair relationship. Informally, if you want to continue beyond the program, we highly encourage that. And I know that several pairs have continued to stay in contact, like Nicole was talking about with Matt Hyatt.
One other question that we got in was sometimes you get questions that are institution specific. What do you say about those types of questions?
Does anyone? I can take this. Sorry, the problem with having 6 presenters is we don't know who will answer. So for institutional specific questions, I think that it's important to keep in mind as a mentor, our role is to offer guidance but not make decisions for the mentees themselves. And so we can often, I take it as a chance to ask them questions and help them know perhaps where they might go to find out information to help them make an informed decision, and try to serve as a sounding board so that they just lending an ear and giving them a chance to think through the different options that they have and weighing pros and cons of the different choices and the environment in which they're working.
The next question is it possible to participate in the program as both a mentor and a mentee at the same time, I assume?
Yes, I believe you would need to fill out the application form twice. Once with information to denote what you're looking for to talk about as a mentee, or what kind of information you're seeking as a mentee, but then also as a mentor, completing it a second time with that information.
I also see a couple of questions. One is, have all relationships been successful? And no, they haven't, but the liaison is there to talk with you and then rematch you with someone if you don't find that it's successful. So make sure to check in with your liaison when they email you. And then another question was, how early career do you need to be to have a mentor? Early is totally relative. It could be very early. It could be mid-career like me. So if you're interested, just please apply and we'll do our best to match you.
Any last questions? Okay, so let me just say a few things. Once again, thank you very much, Jennifer's times 3, Nicole, April, and David for your presentation.